Hello, beautiful people. So amazing and special to be here with you this evening. And I would love to talk about really simple stress to, not simple stress, really simple steps for busting through the stress and helping you feel amazing in your body, and how a simple diaphragm release technique can have a huge impact on healing your body and especially healing your pelvis. So if you're new to my world, thank you so much for being here with me today. My name is Dagmar and I help successful women break free from pain, stress, and anxiety and fully reclaim the temple of their body so they can fall in love with every single cell of their being and truly start focusing on living their best life. And when it comes to living best life, I think so many of us are dealing now with stress, and it is not a usual type of stress that we know. It is a level of stress that, especially if you already have an underlying trauma, if you already have a lot of nervous system activation, if you're already on like the vulnerable side of maybe PTSD or chronic anxiety, this can be putting an incredible toll on your body. Going through COVID-19 and dealing with fear and uncertainty and homeschooling and demanding schedules and possibility of like losing your job, it can be putting so much intensity on your system. So the challenge that many people, many women are experiencing right now is, yes, they are very, very stressed. And when they try to manage the stress or better deal with stress, they usually step into techniques that might not necessarily be discharging the stress at the level of the body. Because there is one thing to try to do like cognitive therapy or talk therapy and, adjust your thoughts or adjust your behavioral model to better navigate stressful paths or stressful period in your life. And there's a whole another thing when your body, when your system is actually flooded with fear and stress and you don't know how to help yourself. So I want to share with you very potent technique, very potent tool that will help you instantly shift your stress. It will help you instantly feel better, no matter whether you are very equipped with mindset and with cognitive therapy, or you're just starting off and you don't know exactly where to begin. So ladies and Matthew, I want to talk to you about your diaphragm. So if you never heard about diaphragm, if you never heard about respiratory diaphragm, it's a muscle that I adore. It's a muscle that I work with in a very, very deep way. And your respiratory diaphragm is the single most important muscle in your body. If you ever studied breathing, if you ever studied anatomy, you know that this is an essential muscle of breathing. And most humans are breathing on an average like 20 to 25,000 times a day. It's a lot of breathing. Now the challenge that what most women are experiencing is that when you're stressed, which we are, when you are either holding postural stress, emotional stress, physiological stress, maybe stress from your relationship, financial stress, it has automatically impact on your diaphragm. And the challenge is, if your diaphragm is not moving well, your diaphragm should be in a healthy body, moving in like this sponge-like motion in a very dynamic and reflexive way. And when that happens, this is excellent for your digestion. This is excellent for really very well managing stress levels. This is excellent for back health because this actually massages your spinal disc. Is excellent for your system. But so much of what you're going through, so much of what you're feeling, so much of what is on your plate, so much of stuff that has been held inside of your body and has not been addressed, it's impacting your diaphragm's ability to move. So when your diaphragm is not moving well, it's literally like the equivalent of, you have your smartphone and your smartphone has a lot of apps. So what happens to your smartphone when your smartphone is running a lot of apps? It gets recharged very, very fast. So this is exactly what is happening to your body. The reason why you have hard time dealing with stress, the reason why you have hard time coping with stress is because your diaphragm is under tremendous burden, under tremendous overload, and as a result, your whole system is going into collapse. Your whole system is going into exhaustion. If you're experiencing right now both this, like I am stressed, but I'm also exhausted. I'm stressed, but I'm also fatigued. I'm stressed, but I can't sleep at the same time. I can absolutely guarantee you that your diaphragm needs some conditioning and your diaphragm needs some release. So one woman inside of my Central Intelligence program, which is a monthly advanced membership program where I teach women how to take an amazing care of their bodies so they are empowered and resilient in the midst of difficulty. One of the women inside the program has just asked me, what is the value of releasing diaphragm? What is the value of massaging the diaphragm? And the value of you massaging the diaphragm is exactly around the pieces that I have been just sharing. Massaging your diaphragm will allow you to dislodge postural stress. Maybe you have been sitting like a vulture because you are homeschooling and you're also working at home. It will also help you discharge emotional stress. And you might be asking, like, why would I possibly have emotional stress in my diaphragm? There can be a lot of reasons for that, obviously, but a lot of emotional stress in the diaphragm is being held from unprocessed grief, unprocessed rage, unprocessed, undigested childhood trauma. I have worked with women who have been really like hushed and silenced by their parents, and they did not have a safe space to express their truth. And because the diaphragm is so connected to the throat, is so connected to the jaw, any experiences of like being hushed and silenced is actually going to store grief and anger, maybe even shame inside of the tissue. And that habitual holding or that childhood traumatic holding in the diaphragm is going to take your whole system out of whack. Very, very dangerous place to be. So when you start releasing your diaphragm, yes, you can release postural stress, you can release emotional stress. It's also excellent for releasing the stresses that your body is holding because of years of abuse, years of bulimia, years of anorexia, years of just like really broken relationship with food and eating. I see a lot of women who come like into their, let's say, mid-30s, 40s, and they have 2 decades of bulimia under their belt. And yes, now they're eating in a healthy way. Now they're nourishing their body, but there's just so much suffering and there's so much abuse that lives in the tissue that has never been addressed. And even though they are eating well now, their digestion is completely out of whack. So when you start releasing diaphragm, you'll be also begin to address these pieces and these unprocessed relationships with food, with your body, maybe with your sexuality, with what you hold true about yourself, and start dislodging it from the tissue. It's so incredibly empowering and it changes everything. And the last thing I want to share about diaphragm release, probably the most important out of everything, is especially as it relates to what we are going through, this tremendous fear and uncertainty and chaos. Discharging stress from your diaphragm or massaging your diaphragm is the single fastest way to begin to dislodge stress from your physiology. So when you find yourself like really activated, dealing with a lot of anxiety, dealing with a lot of fear, you feel maybe heart palpitation, maybe you're feeling so much intensity in your belly, maybe you're sensing like there's this fear flooding through your system and you're like, I don't know what to do with myself, right? You can literally spend somewhere between 2 to 5 minutes taking care of your diaphragm, massaging your diaphragm, and it discharges everything. And when your diaphragm is released, yes, you are relieving the tensions and the stresses and the fear out of your system, and subsequently you're instantly turning on your off switch. You're instantly turning on your relaxation response. The moment your body gets to breathe via diaphragm, the moment your body actually turns on the relaxation response, suddenly you're able to take a deeper breath. The moment you can take a deeper breath, right, immediately your digestion is on, your healing responses are on, your cognitive function will begin to kick on board, and you're seeing like you have a greater perspective, or maybe even like elevated emotion, because you have turned on your off switch. So very, very important. I think this just holds through. Having a diaphragm release technique is something you can do safely every single day. You can even do it multiple times a day, and it's an excellent way how to help yourself regulate your nervous system, start discharging some of these stresses and tension patterns out of your diaphragm, and really begin to turn on healing responses in your body. The final piece I want to say, especially for those of you around pelvic pain, especially for those of you around sexual pain, and I know many of you are coming into my world because you want to learn how to heal your sexuality, is the diaphragm is deeply connected to the pelvis. The diaphragm is deeply connected to the pelvic floor. In fact, in healthy body, the diaphragm is impacting the pelvic floor with every single breath. So when your alignment is impeccable, when your diaphragm is spongy and pliable and is able to move well, it actually impacts in a sponge-like way the tissues of the pelvis and the tissues of the pelvic floor. So if you're a woman who has chronic sexual pain, and that sexual pain is there very likely because of a lot of tension, imagine having this movement that's happening in your body like 25,000 times, this movement on your pelvis. I can absolutely guarantee you that this is going to create so much healing in your pelvic system. And actually, whenever I work with women around sexual pain, the first thing we do is we address her breathing. The first thing we do, we address her diaphragm. The first thing we do, we address how her whole body moves, because breathing is the most foundational and essential movement, and it impacts your pelvis, it impacts your vagina, it impacts your pelvic floor all the time. So let's ask, why does it turn on the off switch? How does this work? So in a very simple explanation, the diaphragm is the only muscle in the body that connects both into the unconscious and into the conscious. So we breathe unconsciously all the time, most of the time, right? And when we do a conscious breathing, we are able to consciously regulate the response in the tissue. The diaphragm is deeply connected. It's actually innervated by a vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is the chief regulator of the relaxation response. The vagus nerve is something that connects woman's brain into her heart, into her lungs, into her diaphragm, into her gut, into her cervix. So when you are employing the diaphragm in an efficient way, you're actually stimulating the vagus nerve, and that fosters the off switch, that fosters the relaxation response. And this is also where you're getting the higher cognitive thinking, where your brain function comes online. This is where, because it's connected through the digestion, this is where you are really allowing better, more appropriate digestion, and because of the connection with cervix, is massively impacting your sexuality. So the truth is that how does your diaphragm, so does the rest of your body. And there is no better time than right now to actually start facilitating diaphragm release, diaphragm healing, whole body relaxation than right now. So if this is something you want to step into, I have done an excellent video exactly on how to release your diaphragm a couple of weeks ago. So if you want to know the step-by-step process, you can let me know in the comments below. You can drop me an emoji and me or my assistant will just link you up with this video so you can have this guided process for yourself, this guided practice for yourself step by step. So why does pressing it trigger the relaxation response? So that's exactly what I just shared, Liz. It actually stimulates the pressure. When you create pressure against the tissue, it, how would I say it? Like it instigates the nerve. And when the nerve is instigated, it directly, way under the cognition, subconsciously, it triggers the relaxation response. So it's the combination of touch, pressure, and then triggering of the vagus nerve that facilitates relaxation response. So thank you so much for being here with me today. It's really, really beautiful to be sharing this with you. It's really, really beautiful to help you help yourself become your own best medicine. Knowing your diaphragm and playing with your diaphragm and releasing your diaphragm and mastering your diaphragm is something that I believe every single woman should have in her pocket, because it makes you healthier, it makes you smarter, it makes you more relaxed, and it really gives you that physiological resilience to deal with intensity, the physiological resilience to deal with everything that's on your plate without actually being harmed or without your physiology paying the price. So thank you so much for being with me today. If you have any further question, feel free to let me know in the comments below. It's an always safe space for you to ask what you need, so you have the clarity and understanding to better understand yourself, better understand your body. How does your diaphragm, so does the rest of your body. And it is time for you to say yes to healing yourself, yes to healing your body, and inviting more relaxation response into your life.